All right, let me go to the visionary
Perfect.
screen.
Yeah.
Take it away.
So as Jeremy mentioned, we'll begin with just briefly explaining our vision. So we've been working towards a unified SecOps platform for a while now. And lately we've been focusing on integrating all of Microsoft Sentinel into the unified SecOps platform. So instead of multiple interfaces and data streams that you'd need to learn to work through your security instance, we've made things much easier. The unified SecOps platform provides that single view for all your security operations by integrating SIEM and XDR into one portal. So you really get that comprehensive overview of incidents across your environment. And then with Copilot for Security, we also significantly expand our AI capabilities. So let's explore what we are actually bringing together in the unified platform and look at all the different layers. So our security approach starts with the global threat intelligence. The threat intelligence helps us understand how attackers behave, and we turn that knowledge into practical detections to protect you. Next, we have posture management to strengthen your environment and give you better visibility into how attackers might move from breach point to critical assets. Building on that, our post-breach threat detection and response capabilities, they combine the depth of XDR with the breadth of SIEM. So we get that full visibility across the entire attack chain. And finally, we enhance everything with cybersecurity specific AI, so automations to help disrupt attacks, but also AI that offers recommendations and enrichment and much more. But let's dive into the main event of this webinar and talk about the newest features. Jeremy, take it away, please.
Thanks, Naomi, for the quick intro on our vision. Now, we categorize the updates that we have compiled for you into three persona. So we have the security architect persona, we have the SOC engineer, and the SOC analyst. Now, just want to give you a quick heads up that because there are a lot of updates that we would like to walk you through. So we will only talk about each feature that we release at a high level. However, we have provided links to each item. So when you have the opportunity to get this deck, feel free to click on the links on each item so that you can learn more on the specific items. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the first persona, which is the SOC architect. Now, you have heard from Naomi mentioning about the benefits of the unified SOC platform. So unified SOC platform is something that we announced about 1.5 years ago, and about 12 months ago, it went GA for the single workspace, single tenant scenario. Now, of course, we understand that there's a need to support multi-workspace and multi-tenant scenarios, especially for partners and MSSP. So we are pleased to announce that just last week, we announced supporting the multi-workspace and multi-tenant scenario in the unified SOC platform. Now, there is a few screenshots that you could see over here. So this is the one for the multi-workspace support, where you could see that we have this workspace column where you can identify which incidents that that's coming from. And also there's another screenshot. We have this concept of the primary workspace for the multi-workspace scenarios. Now, I'm not going to discuss too much as of now because we do have a demo prepared for you at the end. So stay tuned to the end. Now, besides the multi-tenant and multi-workspace support, we also support the Sentinel-only scenarios. So it means that for customer without our Microsoft Defender XDR or E5 license, you can also onboard your Sentinel to the unified portal to leverage the benefits of the Defender XDR correlation engine that will help you to reduce alert fatigue. And also for customer with Security Copilot, you could also leverage the unified portal for the embedded experience. Now, besides that, Sentinel for the Graph Cloud, Sentinel GA features are also supported in the unified SOC platform in GCC High and DoD clouds. And moving on with the experience of the unified SOC platform is the viewing workbook in the unified portal. We all know that workbook is a feature in the Azure portal. So now we are supporting viewing the workbooks in the unified portal without pivoting back to the Azure portal. So this is definitely providing you a seamless experience. Now, the next item here, although not directly related to Sentinel, but as part of the XDR, so now we have the unified RBAC as the default permissions for new customer onboarding to MDE and MDI. Now, last item in this list for customer who are looking for resilient solution or VCDR, we just released the Workspace application to GA. Now, moving next is the our log tiering solutions. Now, we understand that not all the logs are the same. So some of the logs might be high in volume and low in security value, right? So you might want to keep the logs for long-term purpose or maybe for compliance, but might not need to create a detection rule on those logs. So that's why we have introduced our low-cost ingestion solution, which is called auxiliary logs. So this is now available. So if you have any logs which are low in security value and high in volume, so now you can leverage this feature. Now, what if you have those logs in this auxiliary logs tier, but you might want to create detections, right, on some of the log sources. Now, this works hand in hand with summary rules because summary rules allows you to create summarization and aggregations on top of the auxiliary logs. And then what you could do is the result would be ingest back into the premium analytics tier for you to create detection rule or even visualizations. So on top of that, summary rules also will work on the analytics tier. So I just want to give you a quick, a screenshot of how the summary rules wizard looks like in the unified SOC platform. As you could see, you could define your own logic in the summary query and define the frequency and also running time. Now, next, I'll hand it over to Naomi to walk us through on some of the improvement and enhancement related to the SOC analyst persona. Naomi, you want to walk us through?
Thank you, Jeremy. So a SOC analyst will mainly be interested in features that help him with monitoring and responding to security incidents, right? So let's start with incident management and investigation features. So the main focus for these features will be around streamlining your investigation processes and reducing context switches. And most of the features on this page will be part of a demo later on, so the ones I will be covering in the demo will be skipped for now. First up, as we can see in the screenshot, we have a feature designed to reduce the context switching by integrating purview data with XDR. So alerts and insights from inside the risk management are now integrated into the unified SecOps platform, and they will help monitor and identify internal threats such as intellectual property theft. Next, we have several features aimed at streamlining that investigation process. So if you attended our transitioning to Unified SecOps webinar or watched the recording from last week, I might have spoiled some of these features for you, but the next 3 features mentioned on the slide are also included in the demo. So don't fear, we'll discuss them also in a few minutes. It's also worth mentioning that while they are marked as public preview in the slide, they are technically still in private preview, but they will be available very, very, very soon. Now, we've made significant progress and effort with our correlation engine, which is why we also explicitly mention that incident correlation improvements have been made. So although this isn't a feature immediately visible as a button or something, it is important, we think, to highlight that we made significant progress and impact for correlation. The last two features on this slide will also be shown in the demo. So let's just move on to the next slide. And as you can see, we needed a second slide for incident management because of all the improvements we've made in this area. So first on this slide is a highly requested feature for the Unified SecOps portal. That's the refresh button. We will demo this later on, but basically refresh button notifies you when changes are made in the incident queue. Next, similar to improving correlation feature from the last slide, we want to explicitly mention that we've made significant improvements in reducing synchronization latency. Another feature related to the unification of the portals is the unified timeline for devices, but I think it also makes more sense to showcase it via a demo, so that will also be skipped for now. And then the next one, critical asset tagging. That one is designed to help you quickly triage and prioritize incidents by identifying critical assets involved in your incident. So once you start your investigation, these asset tags will help you determine the best starting point and will help you focus your responses on the most critical assets. Last feature is also related to our graph in instance. So we have released the ability to show attack paths. So the incident graph now contains information about attack paths, and they will enable you to identify which other entities an attacker is likely to target next. Okay, let's move on to advanced hunting and case management. So advanced hunting, this is a central place where you would explore all your data, right? So the data that's relevant for your security investigations and hunting. And then case management is our response to your actually highly requested feature to collaborate inside the portal. So for advanced hunting, we have made significant investments in reducing latency, so that's also why we want to mention it here. And we have released the link to incident feature, but this is shown later in a demo, so we'll skip it. And case management, also it will be in a demo, so at this point we will also not go into the capabilities. Then last on my list, before I hand it back over to Jeremy, threat intelligence. So first, it's important to know that threat intelligence for Microsoft Sentinel in the Unified SecOps portal has changed. So we've renamed the page to Intel Management, and we moved it alongside other threat intelligence workflows. So this makes it easier to find because it's now grouped with other TI sections. Next, we want to highlight our expanded support for threat actors, attack patterns, identities, and relationships. So in addition to the existing support for indicators of compromise, we now have these additional types, which will help you give additional context and broader insights. And not only can you now import more type of objects, you can also fine-tune what you ingest via ingestion rules. So you can set custom detections, conditions, and actions on all types of threat intelligence objects before they are ingested. And speaking of ingestion, we now also support importing threat intelligence with the upload API. Moving on, we have reports. Now, these reports are actually a detailed analysis of the tracked threats, and they will provide guidance on how to defend against those threats. They integrate with data from your network, and they will show whether the threat is active and if you have the necessary protections in place. And last, we also now have the ability to customize your TI experience by filtering threat analytics based on specific industries. So the enhancement enables you to concentrate on threats that are most relevant to your sector, like, for example, finance or healthcare or manufacturing. So this allows you to really prioritize based on the unique risks that are part of your industry. Now, Jeremy, I know you are eager to tell us more about attack disruption.
Absolutely, thank you. Now, continuing with the SOC analyst persona, we have a few more features areas to go through. So the first one is the attack disruption. So basically, is a features that will allows us to disrupt any attacks before the damage has been done. So let's look at what are the new enhancements in this area. Now, in the first two items over here, we have introduced some new actions. So the first one is the mark user as compromised. So this essentially will revoke the session tokens. And it will be flagged as a high risk in the enter ID. So that means that any relevant conditional access policy will kick in as the user will need to re-sign in. Now, the second item here is the contain IP actions. So this is an additional actions on top of the existing ones, such as the isolate device, disable user. So another effort for us to disrupt the attack. And the next one here, the next three items over here actually are some of the scenarios that we have a while ago, but now going to GA. So the first one is the integration with the SSPM. So this will actually leverage XSPM to identify your crown jewel or critical assets. Again, this will help to increase the efficiency in terms of the disrupting the attack and protecting your crown jewel in the early stages of the attack. Next item over here is the new OAuth application disruption. So this is basically disabling the malicious OAuth applications when attacks being found. Now, the next item over here is the hands-on keyboard scenario. This is leveraging the MDE signals to disrupt the attacks. And there's also been a demo video actually published a few weeks ago with with one of our MVP members. Now, last item over here is the new option for exclusions on top of what we already have today, which are the exclusion through device group and also user. So this will actually allows you to exclude specific IP address and IP ranges. So there's a screenshot over here. So you could see that under the settings of automated response, you can actually configure the IPs, IP ranges. For example, if you have any environment that you would like to be excluded through IP ranges, so this will be an option for you to perform exclusions. Now, the next feature area is Security Copilot. Just want to mention that we are only covering the embedded experience and not the standalone experience due to the interest of time. So the first item over here is one of our major releases recently, which is the Copilot SOC agent. Now, as you could see from the list over here, there are different type of agents that we release in the first version, in the early stage. So again, I'm not going to go through each and every one, but I just want to highlight particularly the SOC agent for the phishing triage, right, for the email alerts. So basically, we understand that for the SOC team, right, I think for the user submitted phishing email, this is one of the highest numbers of alerts that the SOC team will receive, right, on daily basis. So this SOC agent will actually help to triage the phishing alerts and help to identify whether it's true positive or false positive, and this actually will help to increase the efficiency of the SOC team. Now, the next item over here is related to the natural language to KQL translation in the advanced hunting. So basically, we have added the KQL response explanation. So with that, user will actually understand how the KQL being constructed when you ask the questions in the natural language, right? So this will help you to understand what's the logic behind it. And the last item over here is the user summarization in the Unified Portal that has been GA end of last year. So let's move on to the third and the last persona that we have prepared for you, which is the SOX engineer. Now, for SOX engineer, of course, the content is something that I would say the SOX engineer will be dealing, right, most of the time. Either looking for the out-of-the-box content and to see what Microsoft have for you before you decide to create your own ones. So in the past, you have to install the solutions to navigate, right? What's the contents that that comes within the solutions. So now we have improve the experience, right? To provide you the content hub granular informations. So today you don't have to install solutions to explore what are the contents that comes with it. So you could see in the screenshot over here, I have a solutions that I have not installed, but I'll be able to, by clicking on this, by expanding this solution, right? By clicking on this arrow, I'll be able to navigate and explore what are the content underneath that specific solution. So this will be, nice and easy for me to have a look, right, and navigate what's in there before installing. And besides that, the search capability has also improved. Now, the next item over here is the bicep template support for repository. So previously for repository, we only support ARM templates, and we know that bicep has been getting a lot of tractions, right, in terms of popularity. We understand that because of the simplicity and it's more readability, right, in terms of the templates. So we now also support bicep as part of the repository. Next, data collections. So as you can see, there are many data connectors that we have released in the past 6 months. And again, I'm not going to go through each and every one of this, but I just want to highlight the SAP agentless data connector. So previously, you will require to have a VM, right, as a collector. So now we have this agentless SAP connector that will actually simplify the collection method. And for the rest of this, connector list, make sure that once you get the deck, you could check each of the links over here to find out more information. Now, this is the last slide before we go into the demo. For SOX optimization and automations. So we have 2 items over here related to SOX optimizations. Again, these 2 items are actually part of the demo, so not gonna dive into much on that. But just want to quickly talk about the first one, which is the similar organization recommendation. So basically, one of the top asks from customer is, what should I collect, right? What are the data sources I should collect next, right, to improve my security coverage? So for this feature, we actually look at your peers. That means organizations in the same industry, in this, similar size to yours, and then we'll see what are the data sources that they collect, and we'll make the recommendations, as we see over here. As this Entra ID that's been collected by other organizations, and what kind of the usage, right? 28% used for detection, 64% used for investigation. So this will help you to sort of like consider, and then you could actually see the the content that comes with it, not just data connector, but also analytics through by navigating to the content hub. And the last item over here is the ability to export and import automation rules to and from templates. So that will actually help you to manage, right, your automation rule as code. And also, if you want to move the automation rule from one environment to another one, it will be also easier. So that's wrap up all the updates that we have. As I mentioned earlier, right, treat this as a recap of what we have released in the last 6 months. And once you have the deck with you, so make sure you check out the links of each item to learn more details. So next up, let's change the gear a bit to demo, right? So we have 4 demos that we prepare, as mentioned. The first 2 will be presented by Naomi. So maybe I'll just let Naomi to walk us through the first 2 demos that she prepared for us. Naomi?
Yep, thank you. So first use case will highlight the latest features for instant resolution. So all the features I skipped earlier in the presentation will be demonstrated here. And right after this, we'll actually move on to the next demo immediately. So we'll focus on case management. And with case management, you can create custom workflows, link multiple instances to a single case, track changes, and collaborate within cases. So I'll be showing you all of these capabilities in the demo. So let's get started. So imagine we are a security analyst that is responsible for monitoring and responding to the instance in our queue. So at the beginning of this story, we see a new instance in our instance queue. So let's go ahead and read the instance description to understand what it is about. So we notice now that a user, Christis C, has accessed a finance share. But the title of this instance suggests that it involves a decommissioned account. So let's actually first start with adding a comment to our instance so that we know that we will be starting investigations. So now it starts the investigations on this suspicious file accessed by a decommissioned user. And let's also immediately first assign the instance to me. This is not new, but I just want to do the first few steps. And let's also add a tag, new incident for Naomi, and let's set a classification. So classification is compromised account, probably. Now let's use our first new feature to update the instance description to better reflect that it is about a decommissioned account that is accessing this finance share. So let me quickly use Bruno, and Bruno will help us with our API call. And in the API call, I'll just use Graph API to call to instance, a patch call, and I'll change the description. This loads, and if we now reload this page, now we can see that the instance description is updated, right? So it now correctly reflects that this is about a file accessed by a decommissioned account. Now the default behavior for the instance description feature, as you noticed, is for the instance description to match the description of the first alert. But as I just showed you, you can easily set the description via API from now on also. Now, if we go back to our instance queue, I think we should actually also investigate this user a bit more, this Christis C, because we just learned that this is a decommissioned account that has tried to access a file. But it might also be useful to know if this user has also logged on at some point, for example. So if we go to advanced hunting and look at our sign-in logs, where user display name is Christy Klein, and run this, then we can see, oh, Christy actually also has a failed sign-in. So this might also be something that we should investigate and keep track of, right? So let's use the new functionality to link this login attempt to an incident. Now, normally in this case, the most reasonable thing to do would be to immediately correlate it with the right incident, right? Because it's about Christis. But for the sake of this demo, I am going to create a new incident so that I can also share the login, the merge incident feature in a few seconds. So let me just give a nice alert title. The severity is medium, so login attempt by decommissioned account. This is initial access. Let's also give it a nice description. So identification of an activity from a user account that has been marked as no longer active, and block access is the recommended action. What I also want to do is add Christis as one of the entities in this instance. So let's map it correctly, and then let's create our incident. So while this is creating, oh, it's very quick. So we can go to our newly created instance, and we see that it's a very nice instance, right? We have Christis with the authentication application. We have that login that we talked about. And let's also add a comment to this incident that we actually created this instance for the suspicious login, right? And let's also have this with an incident tag. So this is a manually created incident. Voila. Now let's go back to our other view, this view, and let's use our new feature, the refresh button, to refresh our incident queue. So now you see when we refresh that we have in bold the newly added incident, so that we know that this is something that we need to take a look at. Now, I also promised you to show the merge feature. So let's hurry up and use the merge functionality so that it's over here. And when we merge, it's always nice to also have a good comment. So merging because the instance contains the same decommissioned account. And actually, we are also from now on asking feedback. So when you are merging or correlating manually, we would like to know why you are doing this, because at that point we might have not correlated ourselves. Let's say same threat source. And let's start the merge incident. So this feedback is very important for us because our Microsoft security research team can really learn from it, and it will help improve our correlation engine. So as I said, we are constantly working on improving that correlation engine, and this is one of the things that we need to help have it improved. Now, as you can see, the refresh button notifies me that I should refresh again, and it's refreshed because, of course, I merged those two instances. Now, the next improvement that I want to spotlight is our improved auditing when correlation or merging happens. So all those comments that I added and tags are with a purpose. So as you can now see, we have our tag over here. We have nicely our two alerts, which are in a nice graph together with Christis at the center of it all. And if we go into our activity log, you can also easily see that we now correlated the comments and which comments are coming from where. So we have the comments from the merged incident and the original incident. You can easily see it by the symbol. Now, to further improve the experience, you can also filter on which incident activities that you want to see. Voilà, so then you get that overview from the right instant. What I also wanted to spotlight, what I promised to show, was the unified device timeline, right? So let's go into our device page. And let's go to that timeline that has now been unified. So the unified device timeline now has that single cohesive view that will integrate the device activities from Microsoft Sentinel and Defender XDR into one timeline. So as you can see, we have here the Sentinel rule incident that was created and the other Defender incidents. The last thing that I want to show you from my list of first features is the correlation reason that we added. So for that, I will switch to automatically merged instance, because this is where we want to know why something merged, right? So if you go into alerts, as you can see, we now have here the correlation reason. So these were correlated same device or similar IP, which is normal in the case because this instance was created via an attack in my own lab environment, and I don't have that many things to attack and simulate with. So that's why it's all from the same IP and same device in a very short time frame. So that's actually the first part, so the first demo for this webinar. And let's follow it up immediately by creating also a case for this. So you can find case management as a new blade in the unified portal under the heading cases. And in this environment, you see that I already created some cases that are being worked on. And as you would expect, you can easily filter on those cases or search for certain cases. Now, a short summary per case is also available. If you click on it, then you get an easy, readable overview of the case. But let's start with creating our case now, right? So after our investigations on the decommissioned user, we want to create a case to collaborate with our peers and really get to the root cause of why this account was still active. So it's important to document our actions so that we can refer back to them if in case some other issues arise. So let's start by defining some basic elements. So we give it a case name. We can set a priority. We can even set an SLA. So this should be resolved by next week. And a short description of what we are actually doing. Now, everything we have just configured can be seen on the left-hand side panel over here. So we have our title, we have our description, we have who created it and when it was last updated and things like that. Now over here, when we go into our activities view, we also see everything that has happened to this case. At the moment, it's of course not that much, but let's start with also assigning a custom status to this case. Because with cases, we can easily add custom statuses so that they can fit your specific needs. So I'll create the status assigned, and for me this implies a case that is actually new but already assigned. So let's say assigned and then also assign it to me so that we're not lying about it. And as you can see immediately, we have more activity in the activity log overview, and we can of course easily also filter on what has been done. Now, of course, more activities will appear. You can also easily add nice comments so that we can keep track of what's happening. But I think it's also important that we link the incidents to this case, right? Because it all started with the incident. Now, of course, the linked instance tab is currently empty, but it's very easy to search for the right instance. We have enough of filtering and searching capabilities, but at this point, not a lot of new and in progress instance are open, so it's very easy for me to find the right one. So let's link this one. And you can also, of course, later on unlink an instance if it's no longer important for the case. So if we now go back to the case, you see that we now have a linked instance. The activity is also added. And then maybe the last thing that is also very important and interesting to see is the tasks, right? So we can easily add tasks. It's actually a very rich kind of task because you can give it as normal a name, a title, but you can also set SLAs for this task. So priority, you can set an SLA and a description, and you can set a status. So a lot of progress already has been made. This was a very quick rundown of case management and the capabilities, but I really would like for you to keep an eye on case management, because this is just an introductory set of features. So this is really the foundation for future capabilities, and we will keep on working on this. Jeremy, you also have interesting demos, right?
Yes, Naomi, and thanks for the great demo that you have shown us. So let me go back to the deck. So right, so Naomi has shown us the first two demo, and I will show you the next, the third and the fourth one. So the third demo that we have prepared for you is related to multi-workspace, multi-tenant scenario, where I will first show you the demo for the multi-workspace in a single tenant. And we'll talk about the primary and secondary workspace, where the primary workspace is a new concept. We'll also show you some of the scenarios that comes with it, such as the unified instance, unified alerts, and also the advanced hunting queries, and followed by the multi-tenant scenarios by leveraging the multi-tenant portal. Now, I also want to call out that this is just a quick demo, but there's actually a dedicated webinar next month. I think it was on the 20th of May on this multi-workspace, multi-tenant topic. So make sure that you register for it to have the in-depth session regarding this topic. And after the third one, I will showcase the stocks optimization unified coverage, which is a new feature. So this is for the environment with Sentinel, our SIEM, and also Microsoft Defender XDR. And we will showcase how these unifications will provide you a unified coverage. So let's say for a specific threat, how we will present you with the coverage, not only just from the Sentinel perspective, but also our first-party products like MDE, MDI, right? What are the detections? What are the response actions that we provide out of the box to protect against a specific threat? So without further ado, let's dive in. So the third demo, the multi-workspace, multi-tenant. So I'll first begin with the multi-workspace in a single tenant. So as you could see in this demo environment, under the settings, Microsoft Sentinel, I just want to show you that I have multiple workspaces. And you could see that I have my Sentinel retail workspace set as primary, and I have my Sentinel finance workspace set as, so basically, all the other workspace beside primary will be considered as secondary. Okay, so this would be my secondary, and this will be the primary. Now, because as I said, this is a new concept, right? Primary. So the difference here is the primary workspace will be the one that correlate with the XDR alerts and incidents. So what it means is, the alerts and incident coming from this workspace will be the one that correlate with the XDR, right, incidents. And those incidents and alerts coming from the secondary workspace will not be correlated with the XDR incidents. However, the incidents coming from this workspace will correlate within themselves, right, within this specific workspace, but it will not correlate with XDR. So this is something that just want to call out, which is a new experience. Now, you could actually change the primary workspace if you would like to, just by clicking the three dots over here. So it's just a quick and easy way. But do take note that once you connect multiple workspaces, you have to configure one of them as the primary. So once I have multiple workspaces configured, onboarded to my unified SOCs experience, so let me showcase a couple of scenarios that we currently support. The first one is the unified incident queue. So in this incident queue, as you can see, we have added the workspace column. As you can see, I get this unified incident view where incident coming from the workspaces that I connected will be presented in this incident queue. And of course, I could perform filtering, right? If I want to filter and to view incidents coming from any specific workspace, I can do that as well. Now the same thing here with the alert queue. So as you can see, there's this workspace column over here, right? And again, you can also filter based on the workspace if you need to, right? So this is something that added to give you a unified view. Now let's look at the incidents investigation experience. So let's say if I pick one of the incidents, and I'm gonna minimize the sidebar over here. And during investigation, so let's say if I pick on this specific entity, so I have this IP over here that I'm triaging in the overview in the side pane over here, right? So you could see that this IP actually is being observed in two of my workspaces, right? So if I click over here, so you can see that this is the table, the data source, and the workspace that's being observed, right, for this specific IP address. And of course, I could click on this entity page, and you see the same overview tab, which I just showed you earlier. But what I want to show you as well is the incidents and alerts tab. In this incident alert tab, again, we added this workspace column over here. So now you could see, right, all the alerts that trigger based on this entity, right, in one single view. Whereas in the past, if you are using the Azure portal for Sentinel, right, if you have two different workspaces, you have to go to each individual workspace, right, to view the specific entity. So right now you can see everything under one single place. So I also want to call out that you could also, another benefit is you could also search for this specific entity, right, using the search bar over here. It doesn't matter the entity coming from primary or secondary, so you'll be able to search it from the search bar as well. So again, another convenient way, right, to identify the entity regardless which workspace is coming from. Now, of course, we have this, informations coming from Sentinel UEBA as well, something that you might familiar with in the Sentinel in the Azure portal, right, which is the Sentinel timeline and also the insights, right? Again, in the past, you have to go to each individual workspace, right, to look at them. So right now, you can actually, we actually have this workspace selector over here. So you could just select and switch them and it will refresh automatically. Now, also want to quickly showcase the advanced hunting capability. So over here, you also have this workspace selector, right? So let's say if I want to run this query, right, on this specific workspace that's selected, of course, I would be able to run this as usual. But for the previous experience, right? For Sentinel and Azure Portal, you if let's say a user would like to run a query against like another workspace, what they normally do is they will use this workspace operator, right? So this is again, this is also supported, right, in this experience. So you could see that I'm actually selecting this Sentinel retail workspace, right? So this is my workspace that I run my query against, but I can also do a cross workspace query against the other workspace, right? So again, I'll be able to present or visualize all the results in one single view. So this is just a quick overview on the multi-workspace in the single tenant. Now let's move to the multi-tenant, right, scenario, right? So with the same environment, basically, but I've added another 2 tenants, right? So let me just show you under settings. By the way, you could see from the URL over here. So the difference is basically we have this MTO, right, on as a prefix of the security.microsoft.com. Another way is there's a link over here in the, if you go to the security.microsoft.com, you can see this link to the multi-tenant portal, right? And then you bring you here as well. So you can see that I have three tenants, right? The one that I showed you earlier was this tenant. So now I've added another 2. So as long as you have permission, you'll be able to add a tenant over here. Now, similar experience than you saw before is also available. So first of all, I want to show you the unified incident queue. Again, on top of the workspace column that you saw, now I have the tenant name, tenant column, right? So again, I'll be able to filter, right, my tenant, right? Of course, I can filter my workspace as well, and the same experience available in the alert queue also. Now, I just want to show you the query experience. So the query experience is slightly different than what I showed you earlier. So first of all, you still get this the selector, right? So if you remember the one for multi-workspace, you're able to select the workspace. So here you are selecting the tenant, right? But under each tenant, you get to choose which workspace you want the query to run against, right? Currently, we only support a single workspace under each tenant, right? So you can see here, this one I have 1 workspace, the other one I have 2, and for this one I have 2, right? So if I run this query over here, so this query sign logs just take 1, right? So this will run against all these 3 environments that I just show you. And you could see that the result return 1 record from each tenant, right? And I'll be able to see, okay, this is coming from this tenant, this is coming from the other one, this is coming from the third one, right? So easily I'll be able to differentiate which result is coming from. And just quickly before I move on to the next one is the tenant group. You'll be able to create tenant group over here. So let's say I would like to select these 2 as the tenant group, and I'll be able to deploy my content. So currently it supports custom detection. So I'm able to choose custom detection from this tenant and add to this tenant group, and you'll be able to deploy to the other 2 tenants that I just selected. Okay, so this is just a quick demo. And I'll quickly show you the last demo that we have prepared, which is source optimization, unified coverage. So first of all, as you can see, we have some threat-based scenarios that we come out of the box. So I just want to show you the business email compromise, BEC. So what you've seen in the past was the spider map over here, right? What we have added recently is this tab called products. So what you're able to visualize is to cover against this specific threat. I can not only I'm able to visualize my Sentinel coverage, but you could see all the other first-party products as well. So from here, I know that I have opportunity to add 16, right, in new analytics. But I know that this thread is covered by 6 products, and on top of that, I have 6 response actions come with it out of the box. Now, if I want to look at what are the details, right? What are the detections that have been covered? I can look at this tab over here, and you could see Sentinel actually provides 12 detection out of the box. But as I said, I need to install 11 more because I only install 1, right? So that's why the states show as partially covered. But for other products, you could see, let's say for MDE, right? So it has 2 detections, right? That comes with out of the box against this threat. For Defender for Cloud Apps, it has 6 out of the box detection, and you also have 1 response actions come with it out of the box against this specific threat. Now, if I want to look at what are the 11 Sentinel detection rules that come from it, I can actually go to here, and you bring me to the Content Hub, and from that Content Hub, I'll be able to deploy the detection rules out of the box, right, by selecting it. Now, lastly, the integration also integrated with MITRE dashboard. So if I select the direct link to MITRE dashboard, you could see that I'm actually filtering the scenario that I came from. And from here, I'll be able to visualize the tactics and techniques specifically for this specific threat scenario. All right. So that actually concludes our presentation. So we hope you find this useful. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you so much. And thank you to both Naomi and Jeremy for being our guests today and for sharing such great information with our community. Also, thank you, a huge thank you to the Q&A team behind the scenes who helped us to answer questions along the way and provided such resourceful information. To all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desires to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/securitycommunity. This is also where you'll be notified about upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. For those of you who may have additional questions on today's topic or any other product-related questions, please raise them on our Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/Microsoft Sentinel Community. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.